Hope everybody has had a good morning so far, or a good afternoon, depending on where you are on this lovely planet of ours. Today we are going to focus on really every aspect of serving a customer, from acquisition to then true service and upgrading. So I want to give you every aspect I possibly can so that you can do this to the best degree possible. Everything about building this kind of business and building a Lifeplus business is really about, it's playing the long game, right? This is something you do for life, and a happy customer equals residual income. Think about it that way. A happy customer equals residual income. As we go, you will see on the bottom an area where it says Q&A. And so if you have any question as we go along, please type it in the Q&A, and I will, as we go, address them. I might forget occasionally, but I will get back to them. So any question you have, please put it in the Q&A as we go. So before I jump into the content, I want to kind of give you some insights. So first, I want to talk a little bit about lifetime value of a customer, that perspective, because if you've never heard of this concept, then you wouldn't think of it this way. It's very easy to think of acquiring a customer as, it's this immediate thing. That's not the way you look at a customer from the perspective of acquiring and servicing. You look at a customer from the perspective of lifetime potential. And so let me give you an example. So when we are a month away from the 20th anniversary of Daily Buy Basics being introduced into the market. And when that product was introduced in the market, I went on about a 60-day, I don't want to call it a run because I didn't invest that much time. I did about an hour and a half a day of purpose focus because I really believe that product has massive market potential. I still believe that. I still believe we could have at least 1 million people using that product alone because it's so unique. And it really, from a value perspective, it's the top value product in the world that I'm aware of. There's nothing like it at its cost that is so complete. Anyway, so I wanted to see how marketable that product was. And so for an hour and a half a day, I called people, told them about that product, shared information, and I enrolled 45 people on that product in 60 days. Not because I'm skilled or talented, but because I just did the numbers and that product is appealing. And even though at that point it was not very good, I mean, it really tasted terrible, and the fiber was, it was, I think some people called it sticks and rocks or whatever. Bettina, I see you raising your hand, but I don't know why, and I don't know how to address that. So if you have a question, you can pop it into the Q&A. If there's something I need to be doing, if you can't hear me, or let me know if you can hear me okay and everything is good. So anyway, I use one example. So there's a woman named Phyllis, right? So Phyllis got on BioBasics from day one. And so she has now been a BioBasics user for 20 years. Now, think about that. Again, I'm talking about lifetime value of a customer. That's how you look at your customer base. That's how you look at this whole process. You don't look at it for right now. You look at it in the big picture. That's it's the smart way to look. And so if you're, now in the United States, we make 25% of the first level purchase. So a BioBasics customer is worth $10, right, in income. And so Phyllis has been using BioBasics for 20 years. And so that's $120 per year, right? $10 times 12 months times 20 years. So far that customer, the lifetime value of that customer and that life of that customer is still going, it's $2,400, right? So now, again, think about that. Now, classic sales concept is 1 out of 10, right? 1 out of every 10 people you talk to, you will get a customer, right? So if that's the case, right, then, and the concept is that really you get paid when you get a customer, but your earning is broken up out of the 10. So in other words, if you earn $10 on a sale, but it takes you talking to 10 people to get that sale, then each person you talk to is worth $1. Right? That's the nature of how you have to see it. That's the productivity perspective. And so in this case, if you look at it from lifetime value, if it took 10 conversations, right, 9 no's, and then a 10th to get the yes, from a lifetime perspective, so far that each no was worth $240. Right? Now, if each no is worth $240, how many no's are you willing to get? I'm only talking about one product, right? This is the power of understanding lifetime value. You know, the ideal way to start someone is on the 3 products, right? Biobasics, Ame Gold, and Paranthenols. What's the lifetime value of a customer on that? So you have to think about it from that perspective. 85 to 90% of your volume is going to come from pure customers. That's how the business is. That's what fuels it. Customers are king. But actually, 100% of our volume comes from customers because every business builder is also a customer. And so we have to understand that serving the customer is one of the most important things that we can do. So let me check and see what we got here in the Q&A. So it was an accident. I can hear you clearly. Thank you, Bettina. Appreciate that, my friend. Okay, so so first I want to jump into a few quick assumptions never to make. So I'm going to talk about assumptions first, then the resources that are available to you to help serve and support in all facets of getting a customer. Then I'm going to walk through the acquisition piece and then really hammer the service piece and a little bit about upgrading. That's what we're going to do today, okay? So you should get lots of things that will be beneficial. And everything I'm sharing, I do, but I'm not perfect, right? So plenty of times I fall down on the job. So just being real. So assumptions never to make, right? One, that they won't be interested. That is never your place to say, right? You have no idea who's interested or not. So don't make that assumption because you lose when you do. That they know about anything. This is a huge assumption people make, right? Oh, I'm sure they know about this, or we tend to believe that what we know, people know, and that's not true. Most people have no idea, right? They have no idea about deficiencies or really what nutrients do or how products can impact their life. They don't know. They just don't, right? And that's part of your job, right? Solving problems to providing benefits. So don't assume people know about anything because they don't for the most part. Don't assume someone can't afford something. That's not your place. You don't know what people value. Don't assume that they understand, and this is a big one, don't assume that they understand that they get to buy the product at your cost, right? We tend to forget that because we live it, right? We live this concept of there's no sign-up fee and you buy it direct at wholesale, same price as I get it, right? And you can return it. Even when you say that, people don't always really grasp it. Don't assume they get that. Make sure they understand that because that is tremendously helpful in acquiring customers. People understanding they get it at your cost, they get it at the wholesale price, and they don't have to pay a sign-up fee. That's very unique. And when you really let them know that, it's a game changer, right? People don't mind that you make money. And I've heard for years, people think you're just trying to make money off of, people don't care that you make money. Right? That what they want is value. As long as you're providing value, everybody earns a living, right? So next is, don't assume they're not interested when they aren't responding to you. This is another huge mistake that people make, and then they don't follow up adequately, which I'll talk about in a bit. But remember, your urgency is not their urgency. You're in your process doing your thing, but people have living their lives, and in many cases, people have been dealing with whatever it is for a long time, whether it's a health issue or a desire to make a change. They've been sitting with that for a while, and so they're not that urgent, right? They have to be in a lot of pain to be urgent, really, a lot of pain to be urgent. And so just because they're not responding, don't think they're not interested, right? Or you're going to miss many opportunities. And then the last one, just for this little set of assumptions, is don't assume people read directions because they don't. Don't assume anything that they will know how to use something. It's your job to help them, okay? So before we get into acquisition, I want to take a few minutes and I want to show you all the resources that you have available to you that are going to help you from the standpoint of either acquisition, service, or upgrading. And I see something in the Q&A before I get to it. Okay. Okay, got it. All right, so let me share my screen really briefly, and I want to show you some different things that are available to you, okay? So where do I want to start? All right, so first, you may or may not know about the Lifeplus Facebook page. So the Lifeplus Facebook page now is a very good resource to provide articles and information. So make sure if you're not checking into that page, you do, because there's a lot of good content. This is a part of something that the company is really working on. By the way, there's a lot of stuff in the works from a company perspective for support and really building. There's a lot of things in the works right now. And I can't really say any more than that, but I'm just letting you know there is. So the Lifeplus Facebook page has a lot of great content on it that is of value, and you'll see what I mean. Right now I'm just showing you these, and then you'll see where it all fits in. And then if you jump to the Lifeplus website, a couple different things, right? So first, understand where we are right now. Here's the associate area. You have to be logged in to get here, right? So under the associate area, under marketing resources, you have the Art of Growing Young. And so this is essentially an archive area of all the Art of Growing Young. So all these articles they go back years. There's tremendous amounts of helpful, valuable health and wellness information that you can provide free to your customers that company has put out there for you. And it's really good stuff. Also on the website, under, let me back up. Under online tools, right, you also have the Lifeplus formula, which is another area. Oops, I guess I was on too long, which is another area where you then can jump to that website, and it gives you articles in the areas of staying active, eating well, state of mind, and supplementation. All of these give you great nuggets to share. Nobody has to be a genius. The information is already provided. Next, of course, it would be the millionlivesteam.com/tools page. Again, if you know about these, great, but I'm not making any assumptions that everybody knows things. So I'm going to show you all these different resources, and then you'll see how to use them. But over here we have multiple things, right, that are information you can share about biobasics, parathenols, Amigold, weight loss and metabolism, fitness. There's my video on surgery is here. So there's videos there. Also, you have resources at the training site. And I'll tell you a couple of things that are highly underused because people don't recognize them. Now, here's the orientation video. We'll talk about that. But this video on quality, where I really break down how these products are made and the differences, it's got great information. You would want every customer to know about that. Also, this video on core products, it's really walks through them, relatively simple. You have MLT health issues video and the children's video. This is not to mention all the training stuff, which the training stuff are resources to help you do the work, of course, but these are things that help serve the customer as well. And then we also have the Million Lives Team Facebook community, which most of you already know about. And then what else? Oh, and another resource I wanted to show you is, in case you don't have it, this is my YouTube channel. And so on my YouTube channel, I have lots of different stuff, and I'm committed to producing a lot more content on my YouTube channel going forward. especially now that are getting into the less active part of having house guests, et cetera, and getting settled into our home. But like, yesterday I popped a video on what is OPC and what does it do? Here's how to reduce inflammation fast. Here is what supplements to take for fibromyalgia. What are the most important supplements to take, right? What is Logi eating? So if you really search my YouTube, you'll find all kinds of things. Here's the interview with I did with Ann Brown that was fantastic for hormone changes. And so you got different things here. You also have some things that are inspirational. It's, of course, some that are training that might not be appropriate for a customer that are business-oriented training, but there's a variety of videos on there that certainly relate to health and wellness as well that are, and again, they're free resources that you can use to educate and upgrade. And then anything that, effectively that I share with you or anything that others in our community share are also of tremendous value for you. I mean, we have lots of great people in our community who produce great content, people like John Brown and Doc Welliver and Jenny Davis produces some great stuff, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's lots of great content out there, and that's what it's all about. We have all kinds of things. And then, of course, you have the stories that show up on our page that you can utilize to share with people, your customers, et cetera, because stories are huge. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I'm just showing you the resources. And then, of course, Gulpy. You got to be using Gulpy daily because Gulpy is where you get information. You see who's active. You see who's ordering. You see, you get all the information. You don't know exactly what they're ordering, but you can see the level of activity, the new customers, et cetera, all part of service. And then the last little resource area I'll show you, again, this is for training purposes, would be on my site. And, we have the two primary things on the site relative to this would be the process book, which I'm going to show you something in that here in a little bit that's really important for you. Not to mention it has a little bit of the service component in it, but this is something everybody should have and everybody should, make sure people have. And then for people who are really trying to build a business and are serious about developing all the different avenues and helping themselves, digital training is so helpful because you can listen to it as you go. And you have the blueprint process, of course, and then the Facebook for network marketing training. So those are the resources that I wanted to make you aware of if you're not. And that's just what our community provides. So that is a lot of resources. That's a lot of resources that are available to you. All right, so now let's jump into, make sure we have any questions on that? No, okay. So, okay, so that gives you an understanding of what you have to work with, right? So now I want to jump into customer acquisition, right? And so the first thing I want to say is recognize that entrepreneurs and people in sales, and we have a unique sales model because we don't have to exchange product for money with someone else. They get to buy at our cost, which makes our job actually easier than most people's jobs in any kind of sales. But you should be proud that you represent something that can help people, because entrepreneurs and salespeople, they make the world go round. If it weren't for them, nobody has a job. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nobody has a job. They make everything possible, and that's what you are. And so you got to be bold about that and feel good about that, because you are making things possible for people. Thank you, Doc. I appreciate that, my friend. And that's really an important thing to remember. Sales is a very noble profession, and it's how life happens. It's how change happens. And I separated entrepreneurs and salespeople, but the truth is entrepreneurs are salespeople. It's the same thing. There's no such thing as an entrepreneur who doesn't sell, but everybody sells, right? And it's really about value exchange and making a difference in people's lives. And that's what we do. And so again, as I take you through all this, I am not perfect. So everywhere I'm going to share training and knowledge here, I've fallen down on at times, right? Just like you do. So let's get to it. So first thing you have to know in the acquisition piece is your customer relationship, right? It begins in the very first contact. That is when the customer relationship actually begins. That's when the trust begins to get developed. That's when the credibility gets to get developed. You are doing so much good for people. They don't just get a product, they get a community. They get, and not just a product, they get the best products, and they get tremendous support, and they get you, right? I mean, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good thing. So important for you, no judgment, right? No judgment and no emotional attachment. It's so easy to get emotionally attached to someone's decision when that has nothing to do with you. And I understand it's not fun when people blow you off, or when they ghost you, or they don't return your call. I know, because I've had it happen to me thousands of times. So I get how that is, but that's the price. I mean, and it's a pretty minimal price. You're not, I have a friend right now who's put everything, he's maybe a couple years younger than me. He's been extremely successful in his life. He put everything he's ever earned, and he's done very well in his life. He put everything he had into a business he started. Everything. He risked everything. It took him a lifetime to develop. You don't have to do that here. All you got to do is offer something that can help them and help the people who take it. I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that. And so the bottom line is, try not to have an emotional attachment, if at all possible. You get better at this over time, I know, because I've been there, right? So you just remember, you're chucking life preservers, right? Every time you make a contact, you're chucking a life preserver out there. You're giving someone a chance to change your life. And so in your invites, right, you're going to have two different kinds of people you talk to. The first is the person who you know well enough to know that they're either interested in health, or that they're struggling with something, or, you know what I mean? You'll know something, so you can speak directly to that. But then the majority of people, you're not going to know, right? And that's where this little book is huge for you. In the process book, back on page 50, this is in the English version, it's addendum 4. This entire area, these 2.5 pages from 50 to 52, right? Yeah, 52, a little bit over 52, are all opening salvos. They're what you say to open a conversation. And the reason there's so many of them is because they all work, right? It's only about getting into a conversation. So everything you could ever want to have to say, right, or wonder what to say, is in here. But one thing you will recognize, and that is key, right, is it's just really about being nice and being honest and being respectful and being sincere and not pressuring people and letting them know it's okay, but you got something you believe is awesome, where they like to check it out. It's really not harder than that, right? Or saying, hey, you started something and you really believe in what these products have done, and they've done this for you, and they did this for your friend, and are they open to learning about some products that might really help them? Do they supplement? Are they open to learning some new information? Right? It's not difficult if you're just being real, right? If you're just being yourself. And so then you can utilize tools, right? So, you got to make the contacts. Nothing happens unless you make the contacts, right? But then and remember, each time you make a contact, you have a chance to change 2 lives, right? That person's and yours. And by the way, if you change that person's life, you didn't just change their life. And obviously, we don't change lives. We are agents for change. We are catalysts for change. But if you change someone's life, you change their impact in every area of their life. You change how they interact with their kids. You change how they interact with their husband or wife. You change how they show up in their workplace. So you're not just touching one person when you help somebody, you're touching lots of people. And that's a pretty cool thing. And you get that every time. And then, of course, the gravy is when you really impact someone, right? I mean, I've got a few new customers just in the last month, one of which is now moving us into being a business builder, who the products have impacted greatly, and neither of them had real health issues. They just were trying to get a little healthier, and those 3 products made a huge difference for them. Right? So now they're like, wow, I didn't realize. Right? And so you just never know. And so remember, You know, it's easy to build monuments to those few negative people, those few people that are blowing you off. Forget about that, right? That's part of life. Celebrate your wins and remember how it feels when you really help somebody, because that is cool. I mean, that's really cool. That's what this is all about. That's what makes the motor go, right? It's got to be a bigger purpose. Yeah, you need to have a why of what you're trying to accomplish, but man, that's what makes it happen. So once you've got that invitation, the next thing is, how are you going to share? Now, in the process book, I give you an exact formula for your story. It's also in the training page. It's also in the blueprint process. And the reason I give you that formula is because that formula works perfectly. There's no better way to tell your story than that formula. So you got your story, which is important, but it doesn't have to be this grandiose story of your, how you grew a new limb. It's just really about your belief, what your challenge was and what your belief is now. But then you have the information tools, right? So you have the new Biobasics video, for example, that does a really good job of talking about that product, or something like the OPC video I just did, or the OPC Advantage video that exists, or whatever they are. You have tons of tools. Nothing is better than you sitting down face-to-face with someone. Nothing. That is the best thing that you can do. I know that can be a time issue for some people, but just know that's the best thing you can do. Or doing face-to-face by Zoom. Everybody can get a free Zoom account and do face-to-face. It's really easy. And then, of course, having a home meeting or a home party, or those are really smart to do, because everybody wants to learn about cool products. Everybody does. And everybody wants to know about something they don't know about that might help them. And we're pretty unknown. And so you got to recognize you have all these opportunities. Wow, beautiful. A beautiful golden eagle just flew right past me. So anyway, and so you've got all kinds of mechanisms that you can present. I encourage you, right, to use them all. Use them all, and then as well as webinars that we provide. But those are mechanisms for the story and the information. And then you have the follow-up. And remember, one of my assumptions earlier that I said not to make earlier is squirrel. Thanks, Scott. So true, right? So important in the follow-up, don't make an assumption that if someone's not responding, they're not interested. I mean, I have a new customer that the first time I messaged her, it took her 3 weeks to get back to me. And then then we had to sit down, and then it took 2 more weeks for her to get back to me the next time. But she loves the product because I just followed up nicely. And it's so easy to follow up now because of all the mechanisms to touch someone by instant message. And obviously you want to get in the conversation, but it's easy to follow up. But here's what you have to recognize. If you don't follow up, what you have done is open the door for someone else, right? Because people are paying attention. They're just not urgent. And so, you open that door that something could help them, or something could make them feel better, or something could help them achieve their health goals or their health interests, etc. And then if you don't follow up, guess what? The next person that comes along, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. Yeah, I'm interested in learning about stuff. That's what you've done. You've opened the door for someone else. And so you don't want to do that. You need to do that. You need to stay with it. And remember, in your story, right, in your conversations, you always bring up the point that you have the money back guarantee. So there was no risk in even you trying it, is how I tell it. There's no risk to try. And that when I learned I could buy it at the wholesale with no sign-up fee, and that I could return it if I didn't like it, I mean, why wouldn't I? Right? I mean, that is so powerful to say, and it's effective because it's the truth, right? It's the truth, and everybody has that truth. Everybody can relate to that truth. So, and then the next piece, right? You can continue to follow up, because you're going to be a resource for these people, and your follow-up shows that you can be trusted and that you're serious about what you're doing. That's the thing people don't think about when they don't follow up, because I don't think they're interested, or they're not responding, or I'm afraid of what they might say no. When you don't follow up, you're guaranteeing that you're getting a no, but you're not really getting an actual no, right? You're not seeking it. And so you're missing opportunities to show you mean it, to show you're credible. I only do business with people in the world who follow up. If you don't follow up with me, whether it's and trust me, in the last year with all the stuff we've had to do, and Melanie was the point person for a lot of it, but I had my share of stuff that I'm trying to get done too. And if someone doesn't follow up, they're out. They're out. We'll look for someone else. All right, you don't want the business? Okay, you don't care that much? How could I trust you to do a good job, right? Following up shows you're diligent, right? It's remember, the customer relationship starts in the first contact, and it builds and builds and builds with each follow-up. And again, I teach you all this in the process of the blueprint and in the training area of the MLT page, training page. And then when they sign up, all right, when they sign up, facilitate the first order as part of service, right? So you can facilitate the order through a 3-way call. That's pretty simple to do. You can facilitate the order by walking them through it on the website. That's gotten better and better, and it's going to continue to get better and simpler to do. You can put the order in for them, but the last thing you want to do is just leave it up to them, right? Especially early in building your business. You want to provide that service. And that's what I always say. I say, hey, let me introduce you to the company and we'll make this easy. It'll only take a minute. And people are like, okay, it's just make it easy for them. But ideally, you want to sponsor customers on the big 3, right? The core products, Buy Basics, AME Gold, and Parenthenols 100, the Maintain and Protect Gold Pack. That is the product package that you want to sponsor people on. Yes, you're going to have some people that will only do Buy Basics, or that's fine. But that's the point you want to start at, because those 3 products will make a major difference for people, and it gives them the Nourish, Cleanse, and Protect. And you'll change lives with those 3 products. And so, let them say that's too much for me, or they might say that's great, but I also want this and this, right? If you have some people, it'll go above that. And so unless they're specific about fitness, or they're specific about skin or weight or something like that, the big 3 are your key. That's where you want to start. And that's what you want to focus on. And then remember to talk about ASAP, right? Some people don't bring ASAP up. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? There's all kinds of benefits on ASAP, and so if you don't ask, right? People who are successful, entrepreneurs, ask. That's what they do. They ask the world. They don't stop asking, right? Ask and ye shall receive. And if you ask and you believe it will happen, it will. That's the nature of it. And so you got to ask. Talk about the ASAP and say why we have the greatest consumer-friendly ASAP program there is. Now, I talk about it in the orientation video, which I'll get to in a second, but you got to bring it up. Why wouldn't you want to help someone? Let me help you save a little money on your first. You're already getting it at wholesale, but you can actually get it at a little better value, right? Why not? If you don't choose to, it's your choice. It's your choice. But here's how it works. Here's what I do. And remember, when someone says yes, that is not the close. I know it's the close in traditional sales language. In our world, it's the open. It's the beginning of the next layer of the relationship. They've taken a step, right? They've taken a step in trust. They've said, okay, I trust you enough to do this. Now you get a chance to really shine, a chance to really help them. And so as soon as they do that, make sure you say to them, I want you to promise me that when these products come in, you let me know and I will call you immediately and we will talk exactly about how to best use them. That is so important. It's service. They're not getting that anywhere else. So you want to make sure these are things about how you set yourself apart. All right. It's so important to do. So before we jump on to it's specifically into service, does anybody have any questions that you'd like me to address on this particular part of the webinar? Okay, so service. Here's a chance to shine. All right, here's a chance to really shine. Here's a chance to prove it was a great decision. So let's talk about the thank you. Then I'm going to give you steps in a second, but I'm just talking about a couple things conceptually. The thank you. This is what I use. All right, so I get these from Cafe Press. Company is www.cafepress.com/lifeplus. And you can get all kinds of stuff there. But this is where I get these little cards that I handwrite and send to every person who I ever sponsor on the product, every time. And I do it immediately, right? I've got their information. It's right in Gulpy. And so as soon as they show up in Gulpy, I fill out the address. I put a little thank you note in there. Thanks for your trust. Looking forward to you getting great results. Blah, blah, blah. Remember, let's talk as soon as you get the products. They're going to get this thing most of the time before their products come. I'm also going to send them an email and a direct message. I'm going to thank them in 3 ways, right? I'm going to thank them 3 ways from Sunday. And the reason I'm going to do it is nobody else is doing it. Think about yourself. You do business with so many people. How many thank you notes have you gotten this year? Some of you haven't gotten a single one. Not one. Some of you gotten a few, right? You stand out. This is one of the easiest things in the world. It's one of the highest value things you could possibly do because it takes you a minute and the cost of a stamp and the cost of this card. So, and what it says to people is, wow, you really care. I really matter. And that is important. All right. So people need to know that they are valued. If you do not value your customer, someone else is going to, right? And so you have to understand that we are in the age, and this is very particular to the United States, but I don't believe it's much different anywhere else in the developed nations. There are so many choices and so many marketing messages and everything is a commodity. It doesn't matter how great you say your product is, everybody else says they got a great product too. Everybody's got some marketing proposition and value proposition that is attractive. And so loyalty is portable. And so people are not loyal to products. They can be loyal to a product that absolutely changes their life in a major way. They can develop some loyalty to that, but you don't want to trust that that's going to happen. Loyalty happens among people. And so if you value people, they will be loyal to you, but you have to show them that you value them. There's an old, I'm in the process of writing my 3 Circles book, and my editor said, because I used what I thought was a Mark Twainism, when you need a friend, it's too late to make one. She said they can't prove that came from Mark Twain. Well, I don't care who it came from. It's true. When you need a friend, it's too late to make one. In other words, you can't just go to people when you need something, right? You have to invest in people, in relationships, in life in general, and particularly in your customers. So you can't just go to your customer every time you notice they didn't order, or every time you have a new product. You have to have invested in that relationship, and then they can hear you, right? It's that same process. It's sort of like that same process of the way we accept advice from another person or input from another person. We need to have trust in them. We need to know they understand us, and then we can listen, right? Same thing here. If they have trust in you and they know that you care about them and that you understand them to a degree because you've invested time with them, then when you say, hey, you might consider trying this, or here's some information for you, they'll be like, oh, great, awesome, thank you. So simple, right? So fundamental and so real. So 3 things you want to think about here relative to your customers. Here's the 3 things you want to help them, you want to culture into them, cultivate. One is that these kinds of products are not optional. If you want to live a healthy life, if you want to really live a healthy, active life and have the best chance possible, these kind of products are not optional. I'm saying these kinds of products. You have to help them understand nutritional supplements are not optional, which is why that webinar that we're now doing once a month, right, where we really talk about the toxins, et cetera, why it's so impactful, because it helps people go, holy cow, I really didn't know that holy Toledo, right? But there's little nuggets of that in all of our materials. There's always value in education in practically everything we do, not just, oh, here's a product, buy it, right? That's just not our way. So 1 is these kinds of products are not optional. 2 is these products, the Lifeplus products, are the products to use, right? So you get those 2 things going, you got most of it. And then the 3rd piece is that you're the only one that they would want to work with. You're the only one that they would trust to help them with this. right? So that's where you're trying to go. And that's what I'm giving you is going to help you. That's when you have ultimate retention, and ultimate retention creates ultimate residual income. And we already have an elite residual income model because our products are so good. I mean, you have people who really haven't built much of a business because they just haven't worked that hard. And even the little business that they built is pretty residual. Yeah, will it be completely residual forever? No, nothing is. There's no such thing on the planet, right? So, but this is about as residual as you can get, especially when you serve people well. It's about retention, right? Retention is huge. Retention is based on trust. It's based on you showing up for them, you valuing them, of course, them getting results, but that's a no-brainer, especially when you help them understand through the educational process. You're still not going to keep everybody. That's the nature of it. But you can do really well if you follow what I'm giving you here. Okay. So couple of key things, consistency in how you show up for your customer, and make sure you are responsive quickly. I mean, if I'm in a working mode at all, if I get any messaging from anyone who is related to the business, I respond immediately, or when I can immediately. I don't just put them off and get back to them. I mean, I check my messaging and my email and all that stuff on a consistent basis because I want to show up. And you know what? People notice that. I can't tell you how many times someone says to me, I can't believe you responded so quickly, right? I mean, it's just a little simple thing. So easy. All the stuff I'm giving you, it's easy to do, easy not to do, but easy to do, and makes a huge difference. So here's the steps. The person has placed their order that you helped them place, right? You immediately send the thank yous. Next thing is send them the orientation video right away, because it does a lot of work for you. Most people who are customers don't understand they're a member, and that the member has all these, and you may have had that conversation, which it will just further augment. But the orientation video is really effective in helping people understand, oh, this is really cool. This is really cool. And then you add them to the Million Lives Team Facebook group, because there's lots of great stuff in there. I mean, Elena Kipe had a great little message in there yesterday, great little testimonial, and Ann Brown put a great thing in that had some terrific dialogue. People go in there like, wow, there's some great, I've gotten so many comments from people who are just on the periphery, right? Not trying to build a business, but saying, man, the community is awesome. I've learned so much in that community. That makes me feel good, because that means that you guys and our community is really making an effort to make a difference. And then, important, set up an email list. Set up an email list for every single person you sponsor, right? So that would be your customer list. And then you have a separate list for your just pure business builders. So, but you want to have a customer email list. I'm going to tell you how to use that in a minute. That is for every one of your customers, and let them know I'm putting you in an email list, because I send out health insights and you know, things that might be valuable, and updates and things like that, you know, once or twice a month, right? That you're not bombing them with emails. And then you could also do a messenger list for those that are on Facebook too, if you want. Paul Welliver's really good about doing that. And so then you have your first experience, right? Then you have the first experience. So I already talked to you about making sure that you walk them through their products. And if for some reason you can't get on the phone to talk to them, then make sure you send them an email with exact instructions. That first experience can be so good. And if you have someone have a good first experience and a good first week using their products, you're 80% of the way to having someone who's going to be on the products for 20 years. And that's what you want. And then you want to make sure that you touch them again after that first experience, where you explain what they got and how to walk, you know, how to use the products the best way. And then you want to make sure you reach out and touch them again 3 or 4 days later to see how they're doing, and then touch them again another 3 days later. And then after that, you've helped settle them in a little bit. And then from there, again, consistency is key. Make sure in that process you've shared education, right? So once they've taken a step, they're very receptive to education. And so now you can educate them. So, you send them, hey, here's another video about what you're using that will really help you. And here's a video about this. And here's some materials we have on this. And here's a story about this. And then people are like, oh, wow, because it's all reaffirming the decision they made and how smart they are to have made that decision. Really, really important. And so then something else that I think is a great thing for you to do is, especially if you're working locally, is to have once a month to have a customer meeting, where you provide health information for your customers and they can come, and it's create a little community vibration for your customers. Simple thing to do, right? It won't start with a lot. Not everybody will come, but the ones that do will be happy they did, and they'll start bringing people. So just another little nugget. You don't have to be a presenter to do that. You're just hanging around, having conversations, sharing stories, teaching them a few things. Easy. And then at least once a month, send an email to the group with value, where you give them educational value about something. And I just showed you multiple resources where that happens. I send an email once a month. If you like what I send, if you're on my list, you can take that and use it, tailor it to yours, or you can create your own. But there's so many resources. And does it take you a little time? Yeah, it takes me about a half an hour to put an email together, because I'm conscious about what information I want to put together. I want to make sure they get some value, 6 things about this, or some information about this, but man, people appreciate that and they respond. And then you could have some other thing in there at the bottom if you want. And so I'd say once or twice a month you send something. You don't have to do it more than that. Where you might change that, right? Where you might do it differently is if we have a health webinar, invite them. Say, hey, I know you're loving having a good experience in the products, or for those of you who are available on Wednesday night, there's going to be a wonderful webinar on this topic. Could be some great information, be really helpful for you, right? You share that with that list who's accustomed to getting input from you, right? Again, you're not bombing people with a daily email. You're talking about providing value and education. And that's key, right? You educate makes a big difference. Then you're feeding that process of these kinds of products are not optional. These are the products and you're the person, right? That's where you're going. And then you can market to them, right? So back to that, when you need a friend, it's too late to make one, right? If you've been providing value, then when we have something like, and I'm not saying you can't do it now if you haven't been doing it, because if we have a special, you definitely would want to send it. But this month we have a naturally special. From time to time, the company runs some kind of special. Boom, you send out that information to let them know. And you can also do a feature product of the month, right? So once a month you could send something that's educational around something. Let's say it was brain formula, right? So you could send some information about the brain and nutrients in the brain, and maybe a few health stats, which are easy to find. And then talk about brain formula and say, special product for that is brain formula. But first you give value, then you promote a product. That's marketing. There's nothing wrong with that. You're already providing value to this person. They want to learn these things. If they're not interested, they just won't react to it, and that's okay. And then you obviously want to that's keeping them, your name in front of them. And occasionally you want to reach out specifically and touch them and say, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? And how are things going, right? You're just cultivating a relationship where there's a value exchange. And so you keep your name in front of people, and what happens? That they are out and about, they're interacting with their friends. They might have someone come over, sees the product they're taking. Where are you getting that? Well, I get this from my friend Paul. He's awesome. You should talk to him. But if you're not in touch with them, they're not going to think that way, because they're just going to be getting the product from the company. That's it. All right, so that is many, many little service tips. Do you have any questions on any of that? And you can type them in as we go, or if you don't have any, that's cool too. I'm okay with that, but I don't want you to be afraid to ask a question. If you have a question, if you ask it, you're going to help everybody, because you're probably not the only one that has it. So if you have a question on that one, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to jump to the last thing, which is upgrading. So, two aspects to upgrading. One upgrading concept is additional products for one user, right? Someone maybe starts with BioBasics, and over time you expose them to other things. And that's what I just did, gave you an entire cycle to do that, right? An entire cycle of education. And, and if there's a topic you'd love to see us do a webinar on, you just let me know, or let Doc know, or let Johnny know, or let Jenny know, or let some of the people who are, really stepping to the plate, to Ann Brown, to lead, and we'll make it happen, right? Because we can. It's not hard. The information's all out there, and the products are there for support. But you want to educate your customers, and that leads to upgrading, and naturally them upgrading and becoming a user of other products. And then there's the whole other area. This is a beautiful thing about the Naturally special this month, is the transfer byproducts, because we have a lot of transfer byproducts. So someone's going to place an order every month. Why not get your soap here too? Why not get because we have a great body bar. I love the body bar, but why not get your body gel here? Why not get your shampoo here? Why not get your skincare here? Why not get, you know what I mean? We have other transfer your toothpaste, transfer byproducts that make a difference, that are good products. Are they elite products? You can't compare anything to our powders and tablets, right? Because when it comes to powders and tablets, we are the best in the world. It's the bottom line. When you recommend one of our products that's a powder or a tablet, there ain't anything better. That's because that's how we make those things. Do we make our lotions? No, right? Do we make our skincare? No. But the company is a stickler for quality. So they are terrific products. I'm just not going to say we have the best skincare products in the world. That would be inauthentic, right? Because we're not a skincare company, but we do have good skincare products. And let's face it, there's a lot of highly successful companies that make products in markets that aren't really that good, but they're successful. Why? Because people use products at all levels. And so give people an opportunity to transfer by. So Jen, what did you just say there, my friend? Not a question, but I'm really enjoying this. A thank you card. Thanks, Jen. Jen, yes. I mean, that is absolutely a major piece that makes a big difference. So thank you for sharing that. So that's one place to upgrade, and you can easily provide information to make that happen by being consistent in providing value to people, as I've just taken you through. And then the second place is expanding your business and looking for your next business partners. A happy customer is absolutely your best business prospect or best referring partner prospect. And if you think about that, they already love the product, they already believe in the product, and percentage-wise, 95% of the population worries about money. I mean, they do, and almost 95% of the population with good reason, because they don't have enough for retirement. They're insecure about their job. The world's changing very fast. And, it's pretty interesting when you talk to someone who's been a customer and they're like, well, yeah, I'd be interested. What else do I have to do? What do I have? Like they think, okay, now I got to buy the starter kit. Now I got to do this because that's what they're used to. People don't, I went back and said earlier, don't make the assumption that people don't know. They don't know how simple and honest and fair this is and how easily they could do it. And so, I'm a big fan of prospecting for the business, but I talk to my good customers, and I've upgraded a lot of customers over my career into referring partners. Some have developed nice little businesses, and others have just referred a few. Hey, it's multiplying. So you really, I'll give you just 3 things to think about, but it all comes back to this. This comes into play in a big way when there's trust and loyalty, and essentially they're a raving fan because you've taken the time to invest in them like no one else in their world is from a customer perspective. That's what you're doing. I'm giving you the formula here to separate yourself from other people that they do business with. And so one is obviously the direct approach, and that's just a simple conversation. Hey, Mary, I know you love the products, and I'm expanding my business, and you're the kind of person I'd love to work with. And I don't know that you know what's really here and how this works, but are you open at all to having a conversation, about how you might make some income with this, how we might work together a little bit? If not, it's okay. But I'd like to sit with you or have a conversation and show you how it works. Most of the time, if you approach them like that, probably going to say yes. And if they say no, it's okay. You took the pressure off, right? Another thing that you can do is your good customers. You can say, hey, I'm trying to expand my business. I know you love the products. How would you feel about having a little get together? I'll take care of, if you want to serve snacks or wine or something like that, I'll take care of that. And anybody who comes, who uses the products, they would be your referral. And that way, it's a way that we can help each other, because you'd end up getting your products for a little bit less. And I'm expanding my customer base. Would you be open to that? That is a classic way that home party businesses work, right? They build their whole business model that way. And it's a simple thing to do, especially when someone enjoys the products. And the other is just a pure referral ask, and I'm shortcutting this piece because it's not the primary focus of today. But if you're having the conversations, it'll happen. And the other is, hey, I'm expanding my business. I know you love the products. It's may not be something that you're interested in, but could we chat a little bit so I can help you understand what I'm looking for? And maybe you could, it might be someone that comes to mind. So what you're doing is creating an opportunity to share your story. And I've actually sponsored a lot of people in my career with that approach in general. Like, hey, I'm looking for someone. I meet someone somewhere. I say, oh, you're from that? I'm looking for someone in that area. I'm expanding my business. I'm looking for someone in your town. Would you be open to having a conversation or looking at some information? You may know the kind of person I'm looking for. And often they're like, sure, yeah, that'd be fine. And then they'll come back and go, I have an idea for you. Yeah, I'm interested, right? I mean, it happens all the time. But you never know unless you ask. So there's 3 simple things that you can do to upgrade.